inter-dealer brokerage firm, the only licensed inter-dealer broker here in the Nigerian market. Thank you so much, Sheye, for being here.
Thanks for having me, Esther.
To a lot of people, that might sound a little bit technical. So first and foremost, what or who is an inter-dealer broker?
Okay, an inter-dealer broker essentially is a middleman. So think of them as the guys who are specialized to actually match trades between buyers and sellers. Inter-dealer brokers are like your wholesale store. Think of it like a ShopRite, where people come in to put up a price where they want to buy, and someone else put in a price where he wants to sell. Someone else might see those two prices and like the prices and then decide to put in a better price. And then, at the back of that, things begin to happen. And then people begin to do trades and people begin to get a lot of price discovery and market color. So that's essentially in layman terms.
Now, where does all of this take place? Is it the equities or the OTC, the bonds market? And if it's the bonds, is it the OTC?
Oh, it's the OTC market.
It's
over-the-counter market. And essentially it's focused on the fixed income debt market, so bonds and treasury bills. And also state bonds, and maybe in the future we'll begin to look at the AMCON bonds as well.
Now, of course, there's a lot of focus as far as the Nigerian capital market is concerned, for at least for regular investors, or rather retail investors. It's always about equities. There isn't so much, talked about the bonds market. Now, we know that the federal government and state governments are quite active in terms of issuing bonds, particularly the FG bonds. Now, in terms of volume, how big is that market? How vibrant is it, either for the FG or for the state?
I think the federal government bond market is quite big, it's quite large. It's attracted a lot of foreign investment in the last 2 years, particularly since, we've had the market makers do a better job in terms of showing prices to foreign investors. We've also had, the CCI, which has also helped. You've also had situations where, you've got like other brokerage firms, which are foreign firms, who have also taken a good interest in Nigeria. And as as was said earlier on, Africa is the future for the 21st century. So basically, the market is big enough, and you have more foreign investors playing. We have large pension funds who can actually invest in this market, as well as insurance companies. You've seen the NSC also go ahead to actually help out to create things like, a platform also on the exchange for the retail
market
investors.
makers for the bonds. Now, what's a typical day like for an inter-dealer broker at the bonds market?
Well, a typical day for an inter-dealer broker in the bonds market is essentially to gather information in the morning. So when he gets in at 7 o'clock or 7:30, his job is to have gone through the news, update himself on what happened yesterday in terms of the flows, get on the phone and speak to a variety of traders at the various banks, as well as pension funds.
Those are the major players, banks, pension funds,
yes, essentially. Banks, pension funds, insurance companies, and probably foreign investors. So those are the main guys he actually talks about.
But in order of the hierarchy, it's the banks, the pension funds,
and foreign investors.
Foreign investors. Now, let me take you back a little bit. I know this all started in 2011 when the Financial Market Dealers Association introduced this inter-dealer brokerage service designed to accommodate voice and electronic trading. Is that what it's really about, voice and electronic trading? I just wanted to get deeper and get a very broad picture of what it actually entails.
Well, think of it this way. If people feel like they can get access to liquidity or prices, then people will do more trades. And we think that, the idea behind it was them saying, okay, if there's a centralized point where people can put this information, either those who have good technology can actually enter these prices, which is more efficient. So that's where the electronic broking comes into play. And then you have the voice where it's about the relationship. So where a client does not necessarily know what price he wants to get in, but first of all, we want to get information as to, where things are trading or where they traded in the past, what the market views are. And then based on that, they can make informed decisions to actually place prices or actually place orders with the brokers to actually execute on their behalf.
On the bonds that they have identified, they identify a particular bond or bonds and they say, okay, well, I'm interested in this bond, looking at the maturity date, they like it and they want more information. They want to know how much it trades for. Is that where you come in?
Yeah, it's more about yield. I mean, when bonds trade, it's more about yield. So people think, okay, you know what, I have this investment, I have this liability, I need to make this payout, particularly the pension funds. And so those are the main off-takers in the Nigerian market. So for them, it's like knowing where this thing traded in the past, what's the last auction did, what trends are we seeing, and what kind of flows are the offshore players playing. And, things like FX, drive the market as well, because sometimes, the amount of liquidity, you can sense which way the offshore players are going, and, that could also determine how much flows we actually have in the market. So
talking about liquidity and foreign players, how is that working out of the market in terms of direction, volume, what's the present state of that?
I mean, the higher the yield, I mean, when yields start getting to places like, 12%, I mean, as everybody knows, the higher the yield, the lower the price. So when things start getting to the yields about 12%, what tends to happen is if dollar income in Nigeria is stable and the foreign currency is stable, like against the dollar, people tend to think, you know what, I'm going to buy it. Because, if they think that the currency is stable, the yields are attractive as opposed to what happens in Europe or the US. I mean, yields are very low over there. So for them, it's very attractive. They come into the market, they buy. So right now, we've seen a lot of that. I mean, the last 2 weeks have been quite volatile, particularly with things like oil prices dropping like a few weeks ago. We saw some things happen in the OMO auction, so where the stop rates come also affect what the market would actually trade. So those are the main drivers, and those are the things that are actually affecting the market. With regards to where we see, what we think is going to happen, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty going forward. I mean, given, the CBN governor changing next year, it's a political year coming.
Also, that the market is already beginning to price that in?
It's not yet pricing it in, but those are the things that people are going to start thinking about as we go towards the end of the year. In Europe, they say go away in May. And, because the market gets...
sell in May and go away.
Okay. Exactly, that's the term. So, I mean, people start to think about these things because, stability is what drives the market for a lot of foreign investors.
So are the yields looking attractive right now?
I think they're still relatively attractive. I think we're pretty much close to the tights of, as a close of business yesterday, we're pretty much not too far from where we started off at the start of the year. So I think, at this point, people are a little bit nervous. I mean, the market is a little bit edgy. They're not quite sure which way yields are going to go. Yesterday was a quiet day given, it was a bank holiday in Europe. So, liquidity was kind of poor. But I think today people will tend to look for direction, see what auctions come out, and that would pretty much determine which way we go from here.
Now, you mentioned that the CBN, obviously, so that brings in the issue of treasuries. So apart from the bonds, does that mean there's also treasuries involved and perhaps derivatives?
I mean, right now, you have the T-bills, the treasury bills, which is, which as you know, are short-dated discounted instruments. So those, we also trade those, particularly with between local banks. So the bank needs to trade something, so we get those done for them. With regards to derivatives, we don't do any of those right now. I think the market is not that developed, but I think we'll get there, and it's something that we'll probably look at going into the future.
Now, back to treasuries. When the CBN, either at the primary market auction or the open market operation, it issues a treasuries, and of course subscription. We always see subscription always, outstripping what the CBN puts on the table. Where does an interdealer broker come in?
I mean, the interdealer broker doesn't really play in the primary market. Okay. I mean, the interdealer broker is focused on the secondary market. Okay. So, that's the job of the banks and the PDMMs to do. Okay. I mean, the interdealer broker is basically the guy who says, you call him up, you say, this is what I need, this is why I need it, and this is what I'm willing to do it at. And he tries to get you to meet your obligation. So he tries to make sure that, you can actually achieve your investment objectives. That's basically what he does.
How lucrative is this for the interdealer broker?
Well, I mean, some transactions can be very lucrative, depending on how illiquid the asset is. So if it's a state government bond, which, is really tough to find, then maybe it's a lot more lucrative. But like, for the government bonds, I mean, it's pretty decent. I mean, the margins are decent, but again, it's a lot of work. But then, at the end of the day, it's all for the better good of the market. And the more players we have trading this market, and the more liquidity there is, the more demand or the more supply that can actually be sent out to the retail investors. So overall, we think that it would broaden the range of instruments that, people can actually put in their portfolios. We think it will inspire confidence into the Nigerian market. And we think overall it's good for Africa. And I think going forward, we'll see more and more instruments such as NDFs come into play.
What do you think could serve as a major catalyst for this expansion, these other market instruments coming in for you?
I think it's more of willpower.